Hello, Erin.
Hello.
So as I was mentioning, I just want to give you, now I'm blabbering. Now that it started, I'm blabbering. Isn't that hilarious? I think that might say something about getting out of a comfort zone and then having preconceived notions in terms of how you're going to show up when you're doing something new. I thought I was going to show up once I hit record as amazing. But hey, we're at the beginning. But I wanted to give you just a little background about the idea of of the podcast. The idea of the podcast is quite simple. As leaders, we have the opportunity to grow through leadership. It's not all about us leading others. So it's not all about us helping supervising people, projects, and tasks. It's not all about us managing managing an organization, working on strategy and policy. There is an aspect of leadership that actually transforms us as individuals, as human beings, because when we come down to it all, we're humans, we're leading humans. And I'm interested in exploring how holding various leadership positions in your life has actually improved you as an individual. And I have a set of questions about that. Does that make sense? What I'm attempting to do?
Yes, of course.
Any beginning any thoughts? Any beginning thoughts on that?
Well, the first thought is what? You mean I'm not supposed to be perfect and then get to be a leader? Yeah, I've been trying to play that game my whole life, and it hasn't really worked. And now I understand why.
And I the same thing here. You just heard me. I'm thinking I'm now the leader of this podcast. I'm supposed to be, and I'm it was epic fail at the very beginning, but we keep
Ta-da.
on moving.
We do.
So I'm going to do something a little funky because I know you. I know you're this amazing person and you can just pull answers out. It seems like answers out of the air. You're so centered and grounded in who you are. And I also know there's this Tigger side to you. And I would like for you to choose. I would like for you to give me 3 numbers between 1 and I think it's going to be 45.
That's
and
an
those
odd
numbers
number.
correspond to questions. And this is, again, for the Tigger side. And just to give a little background, I've known ERIN CURRIN, oh boy, probably 12 years now.
2008.
Oh, wow. So it's been longer.
CEO space, 2008.
It's been a long time, 15. And while she's this amazing leader, everyone has an idea of a leader needing to fit into a box. And when I say a box, it's this box of almost perfection in a way. There's just, and being logical and objective all the time. There's many different ideas of leadership. And sometimes leaders surprise you, especially the really great leaders surprise you. And something that's surprising about Erin is she has this Tigger side that sometimes she downplays, but it might actually be her superpower. And so to really engage that Tigger side, that's why I'm asking 3 questions. So she has no idea what questions are coming up. Neither do
No
I.
clue.
So 3 numbers between 1 and 45.
The number 27 is screaming in my head right
Okay.
now. So 27, 14, and 12.
Okay, let's see what's number 27. Oh, shoot, Erin. Okay.
I'm in trouble now.
Your first question on the art of leading humans is,
I'm scared.
How have your leadership roles helped you understand and manage your personal weaknesses?
That's actually a really fantastic question, because leadership roles, in my experience, have highlighted my weaknesses. Because it's like we have this idea of leadership where the people who get promoted are the ones who are already perfect. And that's actually not true. And I'm just now beginning to understand this, because I have a leadership role in my Buddhist practice. I have a leadership role where I work. I've had leadership roles throughout my life. And it's one of those things that I usually get shoved into by somebody who sees something in me and I'm not interested in taking it on, but they won't let me not. And then what's predictable is I will perform at that bottom level, beating myself up about the shortcomings that I have, because I've been viewing it from the opposite. Like, I shouldn't be in this role because I'm not perfect. I'm not suited. I'm not well developed. That's created challenges, like in my capacity as a Buddhist leader. Part of that is communicating with members, and I'm an introvert, and I don't like it's cold calling. I'm cold calling people who have said, I want to practice Buddhism. They didn't say, I want to talk to Erin. And that ends up creating gaps in our relationships. Like, they'll see me at meetings and hear me say amazing things and then wonder, why doesn't she ever call me? So that's one of those ways that it really shines a light on how there are multiple facets about leadership, and there are ways that I show up that I'm good from a tactical standpoint, from a planning standpoint, from a study standpoint. You can count on me to put together a fantastic, comprehensive view of what the material is about. When I call you, it's going to be awkward and weird because I don't know what to say. But at the same time, part of it is I get to see where I may not measure up and take a look at opportunities to practice. Because it's not like I want to be alone. It's just I've not really mastered the art of conversation. And so I can use that as an arena to practice. The other thing that I've really learned is I'm not the only leader in my district. And so I have other people to rely on. We actually had a meeting just the other day talking about splitting our district into groups. And as we were having this conversation, it was, highlighted that this person on the team is really great at communication. This person on the team is really great at connecting the leaders, the higher up leaders, for when we have our meetings. And Erin's really good at the maps and the lists and the organizing. So it's nice to know, like, rarely is there a leader without a team. It rarely happens. And it's, when I see myself as falling short of expectations, then I'm looking as if I need to make that up before I can connect with my team. And what I've learned is I need to connect with my team in order for us to perform, to cover all bases.
There is a book called The Power of Two. It was published by Gallup Press. And I mention this because you said you feel like you need to basically fill the gaps, and then you can connect with others. And what they talk about is the power of two. It's connecting with another person so that together you're 100%, essentially. You're more of it's complementary, so that you can do more than together than you would ever be able to do alone. And they cited some really great partnerships in history, and in business, in sports. What was it? Stockton and Malone. I know a little bit about basketball, but I do remember hearing those two names tied together. And then I think Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson. And the idea is that there's these two people each have great strengths, but if they were to go off and do something on their own, something would be lacking.
Mm.
And that sounds like what you just shared with with your leadership role in Buddhism, in your Buddhist community, that you just the other day, you said there's this person that's great at communication, Erin's great at this. And it seems like you, me, maybe all leaders need to really lean into making those intimate connections, those complementary power of two connections with others. And a question I have for us, for you, for me, is the idea of imposter syndrome. And
Mm.
does that keep us from even connecting with those individuals? You listed, I don't know how many people. Were there 3 people that were listed? But if you had a power of 2, strong connection with each of those, that they were each complementary, how much more could we get done? I'm just curious.
Well, it's been in the last, well, since the COVID
Mm-hmm.
lockdowns, we used to have meetings in people's homes in person.
Mm.
And at the beginning of 2020, of course, all of that came to a halt because our organization is based in Japanese culture. They've been dealing with bird flus, avian flus for years. And so they're very quick to shut down, to protect the members. It's all about making sure that everyone is safe.
Yes.
And in that first year, some of the members were not really excited about doing Zoom meetings because they didn't
Mm.
understand the technology. It was foreign. It was foreign. The upper leadership wasn't really sure how to manage it because we're a very humanistic, connected organization.
Mm.
And it was rough for a couple of years because everybody had a different point of view and we had gotten settled in our ways and what we were good at. And this shook everything up. I was also dealing with many things with work, going through a divorce. There was just like stuff all over the place. And so I started pulling back a little bit into my introverted, I need to deal with life kind of a shell. And I was feeling particularly guilty because I wasn't really supporting my Buddhist leadership team. And that was really where I got to have a new level of confidence in them having my back. And so now as we're coming back into meeting in person and we're coming back together to talk about how do we reorganize, how do we create
Mm-hmm.
smaller sections of our district, I have a confidence in my team to be able to trust that they've got my back. Because it's really when I trust that I can rely on those people. Sometimes you need to be battle tested to be able to really give up some of the ego stuff that says, well, I'm going to trust you, but I'm not going to trust you. And so I'm really starting to understand the power of really giving something over to someone. And I also see that I was the person who was in the way.
Ooh.
They have been there the whole time trying to connect and express this to me. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not perfect yet. I need to hide. That imposter syndrome had me not do the thing, take the action, really throw my hat over the wall and go, okay, I'm going to see if you got me. It was, no, I can't let you behind here because then you're going to see how short I fall.
Who is it? Is it the Wizard of Oz?
Behind
There's
the curtain?
the man. Yes.
Yes.
All of a sudden I finished like, what's happening back here? Well, first, thank you for just being that open with yourself, that vulnerable with your experience, and the idea of, people are going to see all they're going to see all of this stuff.
Right.
That is, I think that is something that you're not alone with. I mean, we have the word for it, imposter syndrome, and I think there's so many of us. What's behind this curtain? What's behind this curtain? Well, I want to move on to the next question. You ready for it?
Of course. Bring it on.
Ooh, you have some nice ones here. So, how has your role as a leader impacted your personal relationships outside of work? And I know you shared you're a leader within the Buddhist community.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, in some ways, that is outside of work. However, within the community, you have a job. So that's still, there's a work aspect of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're a leader within work as well. So again, I'll restate the question. How has your role as a leader impacted your personal relationships outside of work?
Well, actually, that kind of goes both ways because we assume that
Mm-hmm.
leadership means at work.
Yeah.
And it really, like my role as a leader in the Buddhist district impacts my role as a leader at work. When we talk about, I think we touched on it briefly, as a leader, like this is a path to growth and development.
Yes.
But many companies, especially smaller ones, don't see leadership as a path to development. There is the expectation that you've got your ish together and like, you're not growing on my dime. I'm paying you to be grown. And, it has its own set of issues and concerns. So I actually use my personal life, my leadership in my personal roles to grow as a leader at my job. And one of the things that I'll say is because at work, it can be territorial and there can be disagreements and people, they don't have as much of an incentive to see eye to eye about things because it's like the paycheck depends on it or the performance review depends on it. Like it's a livelihood concern and question. Having leadership roles in areas where it's not life or death, it's not you or me, like every man for himself, that gives me the opportunity to grow. Then I can take it into the workplace and I can be that catalyst for change inside of an area where these people don't have interest in or access to personal development. So I'm kind of flipping that on its head. I take what I learn about leadership in my personal life to my work and give those people an opportunity to evolve. And they can choose to or not. But then I have the ability to view those relationships from a different way. I can take away some of the roughness and the raggedness and the cutthroat nature of these relationships where it's you or me. When it's you and me, it's really challenging to find that sort of common ground. Because like one of us is going to win, why would I contribute to you to give you the advantage that you might use to throw me overboard? So to be able to really give up something first and trust that it's going to be okay and that the other person is going to respond, maybe not in kind, but to trust that I'm going to be okay at the end of the day gives me that ability to have conversations and make concessions and also recognize that sometimes it's not my stuff that's going on.
And I think that is huge. We all come to we all come to our work, to our careers, however you want to frame it, our businesses. We come with our own stories, our experience, a script, and we show up to do a job, face challenges, whatever it is you're doing within the workplace. And then there's the other person who's coming with their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And how do these marry in terms of when working together? If these stories are in the way and you can't move past, especially if one person, let's say both people have some sort of a negative story or experience, and then they're
Mm-hmm.
coming to work on something that's challenging or triggering, whose story really wins? But you mentioned that through your training, your leadership training, or what you do in leadership within the Buddhist community, that helps you kind of let's say smooth the rough edges, kind of work away these things so you can take a different perspective. And by having a different perspective, even if someone shows up with their story, you don't have to get engaged in that story itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of what you were saying? Am I?
Yeah. A really clear way to put it, when I pray for patience, when I am asking for patience, I don't get a download like Neo in the Matrix, where all of
Yeah.
a sudden I am just Zen. The universe actually provides me some idiot cutting me off on the highway so that I can practice. So you don't, that's the challenge. It's like, in order to be able to slay the dragon, you don't just sort of hang out on the couch and watch videos. You actually have to get into the ring and practice on a smaller dragon, and let your triggers be tripped, and let yourself
Mm.
fall down and fail. I can practice in the smaller areas of taking on a leadership role within a personal development course, or taking on a leadership role in the Buddhist community, and then go slay the dragons. And these dragons are mine. It's not like the other person is the dragon. It's the other person said what they said that reminded me of something or someone that has me go off. And I get to wrestle that to the ground. I get to deconstruct that in myself. It's not slot A, tab B, and it's just done. There's a practice, what's his name? I cannot remember. I can see a picture of him very clearly. Author who wrote Blink, Malcolm Gladwell. He
Okay.
talks about how it takes 10,000 hours to become expert at something. And in those 10,000
Mm.
hours, if you're just sitting around watching somebody else doing it, that doesn't really count. You need to be like hands in the clay, feet on the court, ball in the hand, taking this stuff on. So, and it's like, it goes how it goes, because I'm a firm believer that the other person is a perfect reflection of me and what I got going on in my head. The first step is to recognize that this wouldn't be in front of me if it weren't the perfect lesson for me. And
Mm.
then beyond that, figuring out, okay, what's the lesson? Is the lesson that I need to develop boundaries and I don't deserve to be treated this way? Is the lesson that I'm a little bit too quick to temper and I don't give people space to express? Is the lesson about communication? Is it about giving something up? Like, what angle do I notice across the board? Because this person is not the only person that I have this with. Most certainly. I was going to say perhaps, but the truth of the matter is, everything is an environment. Everything in your environment is a reflection, an opportunity for you to see what there is for you to handle.
That is a powerful statement. And it brings to mind how conscious we need to be in engaging with our environment, engaging with the things that trigger us, And you mentioned Malcolm Gladwell, the 10,000 hours to 10,000 practice hours or to get to expert. But it's not just, hey, I hit 10,000 and all of a sudden I'm an expert. It's cumulative,
Yeah.
but it's you're there in action, engaged, you're on the field. And if we apply this to leadership, we don't just go in there and we're not showing up as perfect ideal leaders at the beginning. Now, some of us may have come better equipped. However, there's always that opportunity to learn and grow. So if we think of consciously taking 10,000 hours to improve our leadership by even reflecting on the day, what happened today? Oh, I lost my crap. Alrighty. Or, wow, on the positive end, what happened today? I had a great conversation with two individuals that had a conflict, and I was able to keep everyone focused, calm, and we left that meeting feeling better. That's all practice. And I think that's a big aha, even for me. It was like 10,000 hours of leadership practice. Have you, how far in are you into your 10,000 hours of leadership practice? That's something that's just sitting there with me. It's just sitting there with me. Super powerful. You ready for the final question?
Oh my gosh, yes.
What personal strengths have you discovered through your leadership experiences?
Well, see, I'm not really good at giving myself credit, so this one is a horrible question for me. First of all, the tenacity. As much as I want to give up, I won't. I might curl up in a ball and cry in the corner for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. I might like check out and disappear for a little while, but I will always come back. Which is important. It's not always easy, for sure. And with that, there's a humility, because when you do step back, you have to be able to say, hey, this is what's going on. Because everybody knows you left. Everybody knows, everybody saw, everybody gets that you blew up, you checked out, you fill in the blank. And it's a cancer if it's not addressed, because if everybody knows, then they're just waiting for you to do it again because you haven't acknowledged it. Like, it's a ticking time bomb, and people have that vision, that view, that expectation. And so the leader, I can't remember exactly how it's stated, but it's like, the idea is the most awake person in the room has the responsibility. Precisely because someone gets to be the bushwhacker, somebody gets to be the lead, somebody has to go into the uncharted territory, someone has to take the risk of saying the thing. And so for me, one of my strengths is the courage to be vulnerable and cry. And to be able to really honestly look at what's going on internally. It's a scary thing because it's like we're set up in a particular way. These are habits that we created when we were small in an attempt to keep ourselves safe.
Yes.
And when you begin to tap into those and to rub up against them, the mind is fascinating because it's really great at keeping those patterns, those protections protected so that you don't mess with them, because you learned once, you don't need to learn again. Super efficient. But at the same time, when you're older and you're bigger and you're better able to protect, or you understand that the situation was different, you want to be able to shift gears. So there has to be, and this is, I think, where the Tigger part comes in. Like, I love change. I love evolution. I'm always chasing for that next thing. And so I don't like sitting in the same place. I want to see what's over there. I might be afraid to go over there, but I really want to see what's over there. And when the courage and the adventurous spirit gets to be so great, sometimes I'll just go running at that wall, and to hell with the fact that it's going to hurt. I'm just going to go there, and then I'll figure it out when I get on the other side. So that's one of the things that's really kept me going in the face of all of the imposter syndrome and the doubts and the questions, the the willingness to put myself at risk for a greater cause.
I love that. Yeah. Tenacity, humility, and the ability to put yourself at risk, or the willingness to put yourself at risk for the greater cause. I think those are some beautiful strengths, personal strengths that you've discovered on this journey we call leadership. It's not it's definitely not a destination.
No, for sure.
It's a journey and an opportunity for a tremendous amount of personal growth if you're willing to engage with it. And it sounds as if you are allowing leadership to transform you, to invite you to the outer edges of maybe your comfort zone, to look within, to deal with stuff. And you mentioned that there are times where maybe something's happened and you checked out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people know that you've checked out. And checking out, leaving, is not necessarily physically leaving. You can emotionally detach yourself, still show up at work, still be engaged with whatever group or community you're in, and you can emotionally tear down those walls. But at some point, you crack it open, and you really connect with the people. And to do that, again, I see that your three strengths. And I'm going to say it for the last time. Tenacity, because you said, I will always come back. Tenacity, I'll always come back. Humility, that's humbling yourself, owning what has occurred. And there is another side to humility. I'll give you a challenge later on. Maybe I'll give it the challenge later on after this. And then that courage.
Mm-hmm.
That courage too.
Like right now, I want you to destroy this video. I don't want it published because
Really?
Yeah, no, totally. I'm like, why do you always cry, Erin? Like what is that about? But it's being able to just be real and to like go through whatever that is. People will mistake your actions and your behaviors for weakness, or for they'll mistake it for whatever their fears or concerns are. And really, it's, for me, usually I'm crying because I'm tapping up against a truth. I'm really opening myself up to
Yes.
And most people we're so conditioned to be numb and to just like,
I'm raising my hand. I was raised to be emotionless. Never let anyone see you cry. And I still struggle with that.
Especially, women in leadership. Like, my mother taught me not to cry and not to show emotion and all of that. But at the same time, like, I took that beyond to the extreme. I went into accounting. I'm a controller. I'm supposed to, like, I always look like I have my stuff together. And it, that's like, there is a connected, emotional, there is a deeper level of person that gets to come through. And my experience is people really crave the connection. Like, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to look at this and they're going to have a particular view about it. And there are going to be other people that are really attracted to it, interested in it. And, you know, it's like you put yourself out there as you are. Being a
Yes.
leader is being bold enough to say, this is who I am, this is how I show up. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm not going to be everybody's, you know, particular genre of experience. And when you can really be okay with that, that's when you can show up powerfully as a leader. But you also then have the ability to let the people that you lead show up as they are.
And with that statement, I think we should end it there. That is that is beautiful. That is really beautiful. Your authenticity lets the authenticity of others shine through and be valid.